In 1974, the first tabletop role-playing game was created. Since then, people from all around have gathered to play. Join me as we talk with RPG enthusiasts while they share their best, worst, and favorite moments. This is You Had to Be There.
Hey everyone, welcome to You Had to Be There, a D&D storytelling podcast. If you're just joining us for the first time, maybe I should probably do this every once in a while. My name's Tom DeSillis. I'm the host of this show where we talk to RPG enthusiasts about their fun and crazy stories, playing Dungeons & Dragons. But before we get started, I always do some announcements just so everyone knows where the credits go. The music for my show was created by my friend Michael James McGarry. You can find him at It's MJ Made on Instagram or SoundCloud. And my logo for my show was created by Nicole Summers from the Reliably Chaotic Podcast. And I'll do one more announcement. It's coming towards the end. The D&D Monsters & More Facebook group run by a previous guest of mine, Matt Hogan. It's coming up to the end of his big giveaway in the group. If you go to the D&D Monsters & More group on Facebook and you go to the announcements, he's giving away dungeon sets. He's giving away dice boxes and gift cards for minis and all that great stuff. So make sure you go to the page. There's a few parameters there. One of them is listen to his episode. It's called An Absolute Lemon, and message him and tell him why it's called An Absolute Lemon. And you get a point, and you can win some dope stuff. And that ends in October, so this will be the last time I say this before the end of the contest. Go now and do that. But that'll conclude the announcements, which are always pretty quick. And that's going to bring me to my guest today is actually, if you haven't, I'm running through the lineup here, one of the members of the Reliably Chaotic Podcast, Matt Reed. Everybody, Matt Reed. What's up, buddy?
Hi. Nice to be here.
So, yeah, I know. It's the beginning's always like, hey, but we're here to talk some Dungeons and Dragons, and you play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, so it makes sense. How many games you play? Multiple games a week, or typically just one? Or what is your schedule usually like?
Well, we used to play every week. Now almost all the games have gone every other week. Okay. But we would play on Saturdays, Wednesdays, and sometimes Sundays.
Great. So, I think because I got a slight taste of the story of how you met, like Brian and Andrew from the Reliably Chaotic Podcast, but obviously before they did the podcast, you met them at a group. Why don't you tell, because it's a really good story about what makes this game great and how it kind of creates bonds and makes friends. So I know a gist of it, but I want to hear the full thing from your point of view.
Yeah. So it was suggested to me that I go try this game called D&D. Right. So I should go try this. Yeah. So I was suggested I go to a game store. We went to Game Master Games, and I went for D&D encounters on Wednesdays.
Okay.
And I'm sure it's every single table there is all running the same game, all doing the same things. So I show up and I sit at this and I was told to go sit at this table and play with them there. Okay. The table I was at, was there was no in between. It was people who were either in their like late 40s to early 60s.
Okay.
And they're like 10-year-old kids.
Okay.
There was absolutely no in between at all.
And that's where you came in.
And then I sat down at this table, and knowing nothing about 5th edition, I was given a pre-gen. I started playing, and I was not having fun. God. I believe they were doing Out of the Abyss is what they were doing, which I came in the middle of it, where there's a bunch of NPCs that you're supposed to have known from this entire campaign so far, and I had no idea what was going on. And that went on for a couple weeks.
Oh, a couple weeks. Wow. So
yeah,
you
because
hung in
was
there.
a once a week. It was once a week. I was like, okay, maybe it was just a false start. So I think it was about the third time I went. They had this whole event happened where one of the NPCs is supposed to betray you. He's supposed to be a well-trusted NPC. You've known this guy the entire time. I've never met this guy. And it was the same. I was at the same table for those 3 weeks, and I heard, and I got betrayed. We were winning the fight, and I was told, "Hey, I need you to come over here. I got a great plan that'll help us win." I was like, "Okay, we are winning. There's like one guy left, and you want me to go over on my own? Can I just stab him now?"
Oh, so you kind of knew?
I knew something was up. It was not subtle, but at that point, I was not really enjoying myself, and the betrayal didn't hit me I didn't really have any fun.
Okay. Did you do that then?
Oh yeah, no, I went off. He stabbed me. I destroyed him, and then I came back, and everything continued as if none of that had happened, and no one asked me any questions about what happened to this NPC who is now dead over in the corner.
Oh, so your party members didn't even see it happen?
Yeah, no, I was just off to the side.
My God.
And no one cared, and no one questioned it.
Where's Ted? He checked out. He decided to go.
He's dead. Yeah.
All right.
So this was going to be my last session of D&D. This was kind of my final straw, but from the other side of the game store,
right,
I hear just people shouting.
Okay. And
I just hear this chant going from another table of murder, murder, murder from across the room. And I just see people laughing and just having a lot of fun over at basically every table that I wasn't sitting at.
Right.
There were like 2 or 3 other tables from mine, and they were all having a great time. And I was like, I decided to give it one more shot. And the next week I came over and I sat down at a table that happened to have Brian and Andrew at it. And I asked if I could play with them, and I had it. And from then on, it was just, I stuck with that table.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It takes me back to even just like being in the lunchroom cafeteria, like back in the day. I remember just sitting down with a bunch of people who I thought I knew and liked. And then like, I was like, oh, I don't really. And then I saw like the nerds sitting at the table, and I was like, I think I'm just going to go sit with them. I feel like, I don't know. I know everyone was nerds in that situation, but like, you feel like you found your place. And that's, I think that's like really such a beautiful story of how like the game can be so inviting. But it can also not be, I guess, because some people just don't, I don't know. It's got to be tough. That dynamic with the age difference must have been really hard, because you got kids.
Yeah, it didn't help.
That didn't really know probably what was going on, and 10 years old is when you can start like getting the gist of what's going on. But so in the one table that you didn't like, what was the character that you were given? Just out of curiosity, what were you? Do you remember?
I was playing a rogue. I was playing the pre-gen rogue character, and like I said, I was not going to come back the next week. Right. And if I hadn't heard that chanting, like if I hadn't heard them just having a lot of fun at the other tables, I would not have come back, and I probably wouldn't have played D&D from then on.
That's insane.
That was
yeah, you wouldn't be sitting here today talking about awesome podcasts and fun games and stuff. So then when you went to Brian and Andrew's table, did you do another pre-gen, or did they actually like help you make a character?
I brought over the same pre-gen character because because of the structure of encounters, it is just slot in, like exit one table, go into another, and there's no problem, which was actually the problem that I had, because the DM assumed that I had been playing with other tables or at another game store, because apparently it's across all game stores, are all synchronized with this same module at the same time, from what I've heard.
Concept to me. I don't know if I would like that, almost, because you'd hear it and be like, well, this is happening there, but they did something different over there. Like, I don't know. It's like when you're doing a group questioning in like school and you're like, what was the answer they said over there? Because like, I don't know, I feel like I wouldn't be able to focus.
Because it's something like, you can, if people can't make it one week but they can make it another, it doesn't care how many people were there for the entire thing, it can continue anyway.
Gotcha.
But
it's an interesting format. It definitely would be tough for me to get into it. Like, just
it's a good introduction.
But
it's a good way to get new people in.
End. How long? So then you hopped in with them, and then how long did that go on for before you guys kind of did your own thing? And this kind of does, I think it does cross a little bit with Brian's story, because I remember him saying that I went to Game Master Games right before they closed, just because there were Magic card sleeves on sale and stuff, and Andrew brought me there. But he was saying how like some other guy was DMing, and then when that guy kind of had to take the step back is when Brian started DMing. So at what point in time for you, was that during that campaign? Like, did that campaign finish? The one that you finally, you're like, this is a fun game if you're playing with fun people and good friends.
Yeah. So from the way I remember it, Out of the Abyss kept going. I think we did reach the end of that module, like the encounters module. And instead of continuing that campaign or going to the other encounters module, we just started our own game.
Right. Nice.
So all the people from that table, we just continued playing our own thing after that.
Cool. And then
that would have been like a couple months after that, I think. It wasn't that much longer after that. All
right. So it's pretty short campaign then, I guess, Into the Abyss.
I don't know where we were when I jumped in.
You also jumped in midway. They could have been playing for a while.
I could have jumped in at the very end. I could have jumped in near the beginning. Even now I have no idea.
It's a mystery. So then when you finally got a chance to make your own character, what was like your first build? What was your first guy or gal?
The first character that I actually created after that was Frederick. He was a wood elf ranger.
Nice.
Who eventually turned into a ranger rogue.
Ranger rogue. That's a good combination. I like the ranger. Everyone always gives it so much crap, but I've had like, I think you're my fourth. I started off with a ranger person. I mean, the rogue was given to you, but so a wood elf ranger. It's a good combination. So what was Frederick like?
Brian still has not forgiven me for this character. This was the first character that I created, and I created a broken character.
Really? Do tell.
Completely broken. So I went with I started out with Ranger. Right. And what was it? I ended up with, I don't even remember how it got to that point, but you get as you level up, I got 2 shots with Ranger.
Yeah, once level 5, you get the multi-attack.
Yeah, but it was once I reached level 8 that I was like, there's nothing else interesting in Ranger that I want to continue using.
Yeah.
So then I started multi-classing into Rogue.
Right.
A Ranger can deal a lot of damage at once. Now I'm a Ranger with sneak attack.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, I was I was 8 levels in Ranger and 11 levels in Rogue by the end of the whole campaign.
You guys went really high level. You went all the way to the end.
Yeah, we went all the way to the end. We did
oh my gosh.
What was it? We were doing Tyranny of Dragons.
Okay.
So that was both books. We did both books of that.
Uh-huh.
At the end, I believe one attack from me was plus 16 to hit.
Yeah.
And then it was 66 plus D8 plus 8 damage. And I had the feat that let me add an additional 10 damage by taking a -5 to hit.
Oh, the sharpshooter?
Yeah, I took sharpshooter, which would then... I could
you slap
take
a little
down
hunter's
a
mark
boss
on there.
And yeah.
You slap that on for a little extra insult to injury. Oh, no, not the rogue assassin. You're auto-critting on almost everything.
If I sneak on them, yeah.
Oh, rogue assassins are so stupid. It's such
Brian still has not forgiven me for that character.
Yeah, that's
and that's just the mechanics of that character.
Yeah, people forget. Like, I have learned, like, oh yeah, you can definitely break D&D. You can break the game. You can do that. Yeah, that's good. I understand that full thing because my first character is a ranger, and we paused the campaign currently because of just people scheduling and stuff. But we ended at level 6. But after level 8, I was thinking of doing some sort of multi-class. I know the sneak attack's really good. I was even thinking just a fighter too, because then you could just pump out like action surges and just like it's just more output. Also depending on which subclass of ranger you pick, that's spread. You know, you can really just put it out. But that's an awesome. That's so crazy though. The stack of damage is insane. Yeah,
but that was just the mechanics of the character that pissed him off.
Right.
The rest of what I did with the character is what really did it.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is the character that we had to call. His alignment was officially designated as corporate evil.
Oh, okay. All right. Corporate evil.
Yeah. So I made a company.
Everyone that works in Wall Street. Okay, we got you.
Yeah. There was a point where, so I kept track of the party funds and everything, and that just went on for a while because nothing really happened. We didn't buy anything too significant, so we just kept getting a bunch of money. Then we got 10 gems that were worth 100 platinum each or something.
Okay. Ooh.
So just an astronomical amount of money.
Yeah.
I think they were supposed to be 100 gold, but he told us they were platinum.
Thanks.
So we have all this money. So the next time we get to a town, I made a joke. I'm like, I don't want to be carrying around this much money with me. Is there a bank I can go to? Can I just drop this off at a guild bank or something? He's like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah. So I then proceed to register who has access to this account. What's the name under? And that gave rise to Plan B LLC. Because everyone needs a Plan B.
So, did every party member in the group have access to the account, or did you lock some people out?
Well, the official statement was our CEO had access, and our I was the CFO.
Okay.
I was in charge of all the money and everything else. We put Andrew in charge of being the face and the fall guy of the company.
It adds up. It adds up.
I set it up so that any actions we take would be directly traced back to Andrew's character, who in game was my cousin.
Sign this. Sign this. Sign this.
Yep. So I set it up. We ended up just adding more money. We ended up buying out other local businesses. We invested in there's this one store that we just, I think it was a Goliath that worked this shop, and he kept coming up with these weird items and weird weapons.
Oh my gosh.
Most of which could not be carried by anyone under a certain size class.
Oh my gosh.
Under whatever the Goliath size class was.
This is when D&D meets Monopoly.
Yeah. So And it's like, well, we go to this guy for weird stuff all the time. I just gave him a bunch of money to keep researching weird items.
That's hilarious. What kind of items did you buy? What was like one of the weirdest items you bought?
Okay, so I don't know, but one of the weirdest items he showed us was, it was not, I wouldn't call it a crossbow because it's the size of a ballista.
Okay.
But it was basically just a ballista that he carried around and blasted through everything. Oh man, just some of the that was one of the simpler things. He came up with mechanical solutions to problems that shouldn't exist.
Hey, money talks, man. Money buys things to help you out. Pays for the good stuff. That's why some of these celebrities live so long, because they got the money. That's really, really funny. This is my first financially based episode for sure. I've never had anyone be corporate evil. Where did the evil come into part? Because, all right, so I see the corporate. So what kind of, other than, because like the not letting people and making the fall back on your cousin is like, I wouldn't say evil. It's rude.
Yeah. Well, since I kind of took over as the head of I was the face of the group here. So
right.
I was the one who decided who hired us. Okay. And if they're willing to pay, I didn't really question what they wanted us to do. Okay. So I would basically take any job if they paid us enough.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't. Gotcha. The idea was I would do anything is on the board if anything's on the table if it benefits the company, and that's why it was because I wasn't lawful evil. I wasn't chaotic, and I would be closest to neutral, but I was corporate evil. I will do anything to help the company.
I feel like that's somewhere in the middle of like chaotic neutral and almost lawful evil. I don't even know. Like, so it's like a weird angle.
I think the official statement was lawful evil. Yeah, is what my character ended up being.
That's very, very funny. Oh my gosh. And then did you? I mean, the characters are great. What? So you did a lot of range there. Let's go into the other thing. So I've played a bit with you now at this point, and if we're talking about characters, I've learned that you are a big fan of, for one-shots, the suicide rolls. And when did you first start doing that? Because I witnessed you do this, and I don't think it ever really ends well, but it's hilarious through and through. But did you stumble upon the idea? Well, no, it's not an original idea, right?
Suicide no, you were there for it.
I know, but like suicide rolling in general.
That was the first time I ever decided to do that.
Have you done it after that then?
Yeah. So in the app that we use for generating characters, it has options for how you want to allocate stats.
Yeah, the 5th edition character sheet, right?
Yeah, the 5th edition character sheet. It has a thing that you select and just hit roll. Right. And then you slot where you want it to go. Right. In my case, this was when I made Rel. That was the first time I did it because I was told I needed a character to help out because you were short one person. Yeah. So I had about 2 minutes to make a character. Right. And I just went through all the stuff, did the character generation, and I'm like, well, here's stats. I don't have time for this. Just roll and hit next.
Okay, so that was the first time you ever did it. I thought this was just something you did all the time, but now it's a method. It's a Matt Reed special of a one-shot character. I think the worst part about that character, your barbarian, is like not only did you suicide roll, but they were just bad rolls across the board as well, which was like you didn't even get one good roll. You might as well just rolled all 10s and moved forward. It was very, very rough.
That would have been better than what I got. Yes,
probably. Yeah. What other characters then have you now done the suicide roll method?
So I made a So I was asked, we were doing a special one shot where everyone had to choose the same class, and we went to camp, I believe it was. And I created my character, and I rolled up the greatest paladin you will ever see. There cannot be a better paladin ever. This character had a +1 to strength, a +4 to dex, +3 con, +2 charisma. The lowest stat I had was wisdom, which was +0.
Okay.
So this was the best paladin you could ever get. Right. Unfortunately, this was a cleric.
Yes, yeah. I was like waiting for it. I was like, what was it though? So you were a very charismatic and dexterous cleric that barely believed in his own god.
And well, the thing is with clerics, the most important stat is wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wisdom is the primary stat for cleric, and that's the only stat that I did not have a good modifier in.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my my Cobalt character named Weed.
So what's your plan of attack then? You look down and you see the hand you were dealt. You're the flop, of the hand is showing like, a king, a queen, and an ace, and you've got a 3 and a 4 and a 7. And what's your plan of attack to make this work when you finally see what you're dealing with?
Well, first thing is I make my peace.
Okay.
Because if you come up with a barbarian who has a -2 to his constitution, he's not living very long.
That's true.
But I don't come up with like backstories or anything beforehand.
Right.
I've grown to love this character method of I roll the character, I see what stats I have. Yeah. I've already decided what class and what race the character is going to be.
Yeah. And
then I look at the stats and I figure out what causes a person to be like this.
Right. Okay. That's a great
what
method.
life did they go through that ended up with stats like this?
Right.
Like for Weed here, he was meant to be a paladin. He was raised as a paladin. He was gonna go. He went to school. He was gonna go to school for paladin. So they gave him all the training he needed.
Right.
And when he went to paladin school, he went to the wrong classroom. And he went to cleric lessons, and he kept going back, and no one realized that he was in the wrong classroom until the end of his of all 4 years of school. And he was a full-fledged cleric who did not have any stat, who was never trained to be a cleric.
I like that. I love that idea of just like, well, I'm just gonna roll with this and see where it goes. I mean, it's not like there are ways to make it still kind of work. Like, I mean, clerics can kind of help if you just do, because like one of the characters I play is like a bard, but I did what did I do? I did point buy or whatever, so he's not the best bard. So I learned like, okay, I'm just gonna do spells that don't affect enemies, ones that affect me and help the party. So like if it's a cleric, like you can still, your bless will still work like any other clerics. Like you can still do things if you just don't pick like anything with a spell attack or a saving throw. And
anything
you're fine.
With a saving throw.
Yeah, anything with a saving throw, and that's you're fine. You can be a great cleric. Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. All right, so you did kind of do that. That makes a lot of sense.
There are ways to make it work.
At least it's not like a fighter with like no modifier to strength or dex, because then at that point you're basically just a human like punching bag. Like you have nothing.
Yeah.
But at least with spells you can use utility spells and anything like that, or healing spells too. Clerics healing. That's it. That's your bread and butter anyway.
There are ways around it, even if you have bad stats.
Yeah.
If you can find a way that it makes sense how this could have happened, you can still have a lot of fun with the character, even if they die.
Absolutely. From a lot of fun roleplay standpoint, it's definitely a great move. Let's talk a little bit about the podcast, because like you are not only a player in the podcast, but you do all of the audio or most of the audio stuff, and you do a lot. When what was it like? Like, what did you feel like when they? I don't know who originally pitched the idea, but when they're like, hey, we're gonna do this podcast, but you're gonna be in it, but you're also we need you for the techie stuff.
Actually, the story of how I decided I could be an editor was actually really interesting.
Oh, okay. So you weren't. So you're almost kind of like, well, you're smarter than me when it comes to computers, but like I was like, I want to do this. I don't know how to do this. I'm gonna Google how to do this.
Yeah, there was a so Brian was the one who pitched it, and he wanted to know if I would be on the podcast.
Right.
And this story had already happened by that point. So I was like, I mean, I guess I could be the editor as well. I guess because he needs someone to be an editor, and I said I could do it. But there's another podcast I listen to called Podquisition.
Okay.
With James Stephanie Sterling and Laura Kate Dale, and at the time, Miracle of Sound was on there. Laura was the editor for that podcast, and she, at the time, would stream on Twitch when she did editing for it.
Oh,
and
okay, that's really smart.
And I saw her just doing the editing. I'm like, wait, that's all it is? That's all it takes? Because she just had Audacity up and just cutting out the empty spots and muting out any extra noises.
Right. And
that was how I realized, wait, editing is really simple. You just need to learn the tool.
Yeah, it's simple. It can be very tedious if things go bad, but that's cool. So you were like, I'm going to be a player, and I'm just going to take up this job of being the editor. That's really nice that you did that for them, because Brian, even on his episode, praised you because he said without you there would be no podcast. So pretty much. And then how's it being? So why don't you tell the folks at home about, because we had Nicole talk about Piper, so why don't you tell everyone about your character for that, since we're on the character train right now.
Oh boy, Scratch. So this character started as a joke.
Oh, really?
I went into this character with one piece of backstory.
Okay.
I knew he is a cat person.
Right.
This race was created before Tabaxi were a thing.
Yeah, it's
so
Katzen, right?
That is an important thing. That's why he wasn't a Tabaxi, because that race was created before then.
Brian created
I'm
this
a cat.
before, yeah.
I'm a cat. My name is Scratch, and my last name is a tree. That was the only joke I had.
Okay.
And I built the entire character off of that joke.
That's really funny.
These cats have comedy last names.
All right. I mean, what's crazy about that is now, like, obviously I'm usually pretty much up to speed on your podcast, and I won't do any spoilers, but your character actually has more of a backstory now than any of the other ones, kind of. Which is like really ironic. Because now you have you're having moments of backstory like appear into the episodes now, and literally it was a joke at first, and your backstory was just the last name.
Yeah, because actually, so Scratch was actually the third. He would actually be the third character I ever created.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
There was Frederick. There was Thok for the Prince's game, and then Scratch. So he was a really early character, and at that point I didn't really know how to really do backstories correctly,
right? Or
how to properly build a backstory. So I didn't have much to go on. As after a while, I sat down with Brian and we actually worked out what his story was. But the initial concept was just cats have pun last names.
I mean, look where you are now, though. That's
now I've got a story of my daughter ran away to find me because I went missing.
Yeah,
and
trying to do so many spoilers.
All this other stuff.
Every once in a while, who knows? Someone might.
Oh yeah, no, that's
excessive plugging of your show, because I'm a big fan of it. We don't want to ruin it for the folks at home.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other stuff that I've got. Oh man.
Oh, don't tell me, because I'm following along.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah.
Every other Sunday, I'm like, or Mondays, I usually pop it up. Your episode actually just dropped, right? One of your episodes just dropped.
Yeah, we had an episode come out this morning. Yeah.
This is being recorded on the 13th for those who will listen to this in like a week and a half. Very, very cool. All right, let's open it up and let me hear about. So I know you've only had, well, now you've had a gaggle of characters, I'm assuming. Because how many years has it been now since you started playing?
It has been at least 5 years now that I've been playing.
It's a good chunk of time, and consistently too.
Yeah.
So what were some of your favorite like moments and stories in all of the games that you've been doing now? One shots, full length campaigns, and nonstop.
Well, I mean, some of my favorite moments, not even stuff that I've done, but like in the Prince's game when when one of our other characters dropped Tiamat in one round by accident.
What happened with that? Is that that was recent?
That was a while. That was the Prince's game.
Oh, Prince's, right? That was the one.
No, sorry, the Tyranny of Dragons one. Sorry.
Oh,
with Frederick, the corporate evil character.
Oh, that was like way back in the day. Okay, so
way back. That was one of my favorite ones. Who was running
that character?
That was the other Matt who was playing Tick.
Okay.
Who had some wild magic happen, and because I had a deck of wild magic effects, I drew one.
Oh, okay.
And
you were part of this then.
Yeah.
It was your, dare I say, luck of the draw. Okay.
Yeah, and he ended up killing. I want to leave that in case he ever comes here, but.
Oh, so all right. Yeah, I can have him come on. What also? Yeah. What about for your characters? What have your characters
for me,
done? I've seen you be in Age of the Chaos. Don't tell me you ain't got nothing.
A lot of the ones are the more recent stuff. Being able to God, I can't even pick one out. Playing Rel is probably one of my most chaotic ones that I've had.
Okay, yeah. You're a push the button, ask questions later.
Yeah, I ran through I came into the dungeon. There is a giant there's just a bunch of doors and everyone else is arguing over stuff. Do we open stuff?
Right.
Do we do we check for traps? I just go through all the doors.
Yeah.
Oh no, now I got one. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
There's always one. You just gotta wait for it.
Yeah. No, that took a while. In our Prince's game, I was playing Thok. He is our half-orc. He is a half-orc fighter.
Okay.
And every single one, we got to a point where all of our characters were talking about our families, our backstories, and everything that had happened. And we have the druid who was kicked out of his circle for reasons that I still don't know. We had our wizard who, like, her father had died, her mother remarried, and she hates her entire family. We had the rogue who, his parents died when he was an even smaller child because he was 12 years old at the time, and his sister disappeared and is now trying to kill him. And I'm like, my parents are happy. Right? My parents are alive. They are happily married. And I call my mother. They live on a farm, and I call my mother every Sunday. Which then gave rise to the character Mama Thok.
Mama Thok.
I said I call my mom every Sunday. So from that point on, I now had a sending stone. that I would be able to call my mom and my mom was the orc and my dad is the human.
Right.
It's like everyone's like half-orcs they're always tragic backstories because they're always like made through assault or something. Like, no, they are happily married, they love each other very much, and they live on a farm.
It's beautiful.
And then that continued, and that character became a major part of the story. Calling my mom and meeting up with Mama Thok.
That's hilarious.
Who was a level 20 barbarian.
Who was running that game?
That was Brian.
Brian's game? So Brian had to be Mama Thok all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'm gonna have to ask him about that because I just want to know what Mama Thok's demeanor and what was she like? Was she like a? I don't know why.
I cannot do the voice justice, but
you don't even do the voice. Just like what was she?
I need to talk to you now. Why are you so skinny? Get back here and eat food.
Oh, so she's an Italian mom. I got it. Okay.
It was a very Italian mom.
Are you eating enough over there with the big adventuring?
Yeah.
Italian moms and Jewish moms kind of mixed together sometimes.
We ended up adopting people and sending them to the farm to keep them safe. And then she got her hands on our 12-year-old orphan, Henry, who is now being taken care of by Mama Thok.
That's when she stopped calling you because she had a new baby, right? Stopped answering. That's hilarious. That's beautiful because almost everyone's probably backstories all the time are tragic and parents left, but you had a beautiful backstory. And sometimes it's easy to have a character and you're like, I don't need growth. I got my good Mama Thok. Mama Thok coming in clutch all the time. Beautiful. That should do it, man. This was a great episode. This was a lot of fun. I love all of your character developments. I love your origin story is top notch because again, the whole point of this game is finding friends and having a great time and laughing. And I'm glad that you were able to understand. You're like, over there, you can have fun like they're having. This sucks. I'm leaving. And that's people who do that. I've heard a couple stories of people like, I tried it once. It wasn't a good time. Like, probably because the people you played with sucked. But that's amazing. So, why don't you plug what you got to plug your podcast, tell people where to find it. You're the one who posts it. So go ahead, take the reins on this one for a moment.
We do the Reliably Chaotic Podcast. You can find us on any podcast app. We'll be there on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, anything. Reliablychaotic.com will also link you to it. That's I believe that's it. Yeah,
that's fine. All right, I will do my sign-offs and plugs and we'll get you out of here. So once again, this has been You Had to Be There, a D&D storytelling podcast. So if you want to be a guest on the show, it's super easy. I had someone do it the other day. You just send me an email to youhadtobethere@gmail.com. And once again, it's DND with the 3 letters. Dog, Nancy, dog. Just like that. You Had to Be There, dndpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Tom DeSillis Comedy for stand-up comedy dates and clips of this wonderful show. Make sure you go check out the D&D Monsters and More Facebook group and take part in that final stretch of this wonderful contest. And that should do it. Thanks everyone for listening. This has been You Had to Be There, a D&D storytelling podcast with Matt Reed. Bye everyone.
Bye.